USDA.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the voice of Maui, community-supported radio, 88.5 FM, KAKU.
In exactly 15 seconds, we'll be on the air.
KAKU 88.5 FM.
Okay, here we go.
Kahului, Maui.
Quiet, please.
The voice of Maui.
Welcome to The Nature of Your Nature. Come home to You Know More with Dr. Valerie Simonson on KAKU 88.5 FM, The Voice of Maui, broadcasting from Akaku Maui Community Media Center in downtown Kahului. Aloha. Welcome to episode 5 of The Nature of Your Nature. Thank you for joining us today on this full moon. And that's a really special time every month, or sometimes twice a month, where the earth is right between the sun and the moon. And there's this energy that's pulling on us. And actually, you've maybe heard the word lunatic. That's why we have so many emotions at this time of the month with a full moon. And we've brought in a very, very special friend of mine today, Naia Nakai. We've known each other a long time, and we're going to be talking about riding the waves. Now, Naia, you have a degree in art from
CSUC,
which is
in California. California State University.
Wow.
Yes.
And then, but also you were 16 years Lomi Lomi practitioner.
That's correct. 16 years doing the healing work full time. And I did about 10,000 Lomi Lomi treatments. And now I still do it for friends and family, but have been a full-time artist.
Wow. And you have a website. Would you like to share that right now?
Sure. It's purealohaart.com. And it's pure aloha because I feel that these days aloha is just thrown around kind of casually. And it's wonderful when visitors come and they hear aloha, aloha, aloha all the time. It's the aloha spirit is wonderful, but it's deeper. It's much deeper. It's harmony, it's breath, it's compassion, it's love. Aloha. It's a spirit that kind of grounds all those things together. So I just came up with pure aloha art because I really wanted to focus on the deeper meaning of aloha and the deeper meaning of how aloha influences the artwork.
And with that, the art is a form of healing for you personally, but then also for those that invest in your work, in your...
Absolutely. That's the whole idea. I think it's wonderful to have decoration in your home and to bring in artwork that matches your furniture. Absolutely. I love a nice space for sure. And if you can combine that with something that really helps you to feel good and to really sort of imbibed with healing energy, I think that is one step better.
Yeah, you bet. And you've been doing a lot of work with waves. A lot of your painting is with waves.
That's right, and has been for many years.
Tell us a little bit about waves and how did you get connected to these waves? Because I just recently watched you on Akaku Maui Spirit. Was that what that was called?
Yeah, the Spirit of Maui.
Spirit of Maui. And I looked at the paintings, and literally I could feel what you were speaking about with the waves.
I'm so glad to hear that.
So tell us, how did you attain that? How can others perhaps attain that?
The feeling?
Yeah, the awareness that, our body is 75% water, and 75% of the earth is water.
Amazing, right? Isn't it?
And I've been with you when you dove into the water, and I can't see a separation between you and the water when you're down there.
That's exactly how it feels.
Beautiful.
Yes. Well, Everybody has a different relationship, I think, with water. Some people, like myself, I just absolutely love, love, love the water. I love the waves. I love being on the water. I actually have my own boat, and being out on the boat and getting my feet off of the ground and onto the water and sort of get to that place where it's like, oh, okay, now I feel the motion of the water. Now I'm really at home. Now it's funny, like I need to be on the water to be grounded, but that's it.
Hey, there's a lot of people that need that, right?
Yeah. So I'm one of those people. And so I really enjoy being in the water. If I'm in town doing errands in town here, just driving up to I'ao Valley and getting in the water afterward is just such a nice healing way to just kind of wash things away and just bring in the good feeling for myself. And so that is it. And that is the inspiration of painting waves. How that feels when I'm on the water, how that feels when I'm in a wave, how that feels when I'm looking at a wave is what I'm after. So I love looking at photographs of waves. I love looking at paintings where they capture exactly what it looks like. You can't tell it's a painting or a photograph.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's amazing how people do that. And I absolutely love and respect that. And for myself, at this point in my life, I am really, really interested in capturing how it feels to look at a wave, how it feels to be in the water, and how that is healing for me. Maybe perhaps somebody is afraid of water. Maybe they waves. Okay, there we go. So maybe when you look at a wave, you might not get a sense of peace. You might get a sense of terror. So, but because the artwork is created by somebody who does have that sense of peace from the wave and from the ocean, that feeling that I get from the water gets put into the canvas. So if somebody is afraid of the water, that this work is intended to heal that.
Which I'm going to go back to when you were actually putting your hands on people, and I've had you put your hands on my body for decades now, but that you're doing the same thing just in a different medium, and we actually call that craftivism. Activism through craft.
I love that. Yes, I studied Lomi Lomi with Auntie Angeline. I'm a part of her in lineage, which is amazing. She's no longer with us in the spirit world and in the physical world.
Right.
She's, yes, in the spiritual. Yes, got it. So anyway, very, very special healing. And one of the major teachings of the Lomi Lomi is that you take the love from your heart and you send it through to your hands and you send it on to the person. So your arms are an open channel for your healing, loving energy. And it's not just about working with people directly with body work. It's how you hang your laundry. It's how you mop your floor. It's how you do every single thing in life. It's this conversation right now. Every single thing is Lomi. Everything can be Lomi if you look at it that way. So
and I think about the Tao of water. Water always finds its way. Water always finds its way. And I remember having a Lomi Lomi with someone one time, and I went, oh my gosh, I didn't know that I didn't have water in my legs. She was able to reunite my body, right? So that the flow went through.
That's
the
amazing. Water. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's amazing to be the practitioner and feel that on the other side too. When you feel somebody's body change and starts to flow. It's just, it can be just like a kink in a hose. And when the hose gets unkinked and things start flowing, it's a very special thing.
Yeah. And when we think about water from many ancient texts, water is considered to be the emotions. And with the full moon, and this energy, the tides are doing what they're doing, but our internal tides are doing what they're doing, right?
This is very fascinating. Yes. You look at a tide chart, or somebody who's a boater. I've looked at a lot of tide charts.
Yeah, right.
And the tide chart is an actual, when you look at the chart, it's like a wave that goes up and down and up and down. That's like a wave itself. And so similar to like a chart of a sound wave or a chart of an EKG.
Right.
Like this is all related for sure.
Wow.
And it's all art.
It is. It is. Yeah, the EKG, which if you don't know what that is, that's how we monitor the heart.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a little more pokey.
Yeah,
but
can
it
be.
is the same idea, this up and down motion. That is just kind of a universal thing.
And right now, with everything that's happening in the world, all these changes that are happening, and sometimes we may feel like, wow, what am I going to do? I've lost control, or all of that. Someone today gave me some really great advice, is just to not say anything and just to be in it. Stay safe. Drink plenty of water. Know that this too will pass. Especially on a full moon. That's the lunatics. The hospital always is packed. The ER is packed on a full moon, right?
No question.
Yeah.
Well, I might just want to add to that maybe instead of not saying anything, maybe it's a good time to say to ourselves a thought that would feel better. Even if we're having a feeling and we're frightened or we're uncertain or or any feeling, even if we're happy, you could always reach for a better thought. You can always reach for a thought that makes you feel better. And even if it's just inches better, a little bit better, that allows you to just kind of take a deep breath and settle into it. Like, I don't know what my future is. I'm uncertain. I'm feeling afraid. I know that I will have a future. I trust myself.
I'm going to ask you just to pull your mic a little closer.
Closer? You want to hear that a little bit?
I do want to hear that a little bit better.
Okay.
And say that again.
Okay. Maybe I'll say it a little slower because I'm very passionate about this.
Yeah,
and I think
hear
it's
that. It's awesome.
very important that we can all reach for a better thought. We can all reach for a thought that makes us feel better. And even if it just makes us feel itsy better, it's amazing what that will do. So I could just use a personal, vulnerable example. Yesterday was Mother's Day. And of course, everybody, I'm a mother. I love my daughter. She's 20. She's going to be 27 tomorrow. And I heard so many people say, Happy Mother's Day. And I didn't feel very happy because my daughter lives very far away and I miss her and I miss being a daily mom. I miss all that stuff. So Happy Mother's Day was like, not so much. So, instead of, I kind of started to go into it, and this was a real personal example about how you feel matters. I started to feel like maybe I'll just cancel everything today and just sit down and just feel sad. And then I thought, reach for it. What would be a better feeling? What would be, okay, yes, you feel sad. This doesn't magically go away. This is a real feeling. This is not an esoteric thing. You are sad. Yeah. So reach for a thought. Okay, you're sad. Okay, what would feel better? Gosh, I'm thinking about her little dimple right now. And it's so cute. Sorry if you're listening, Misha. It's adorable. And she has a little soft spot right on her forehead. And when I touch it, it's wonderful. When she was little, I used to just stroke her. And I just started to think about that.
Oh, wow.
And then all of a sudden, I felt so much better. I still missed her.
Of course.
But the thought that I reached for changed my whole inner being. And this is where the healing is, because I could have sat around all day long feeling sad. And I thought about her little dimple, and all of a sudden something in my body loosened. This tightness, this tight grip, that is the disease, when our body is all contracted and we are not feeling good inside. We're upset for one reason or another. Reaching for a better thought loosens all that up so that our body can start to work properly. And it just starts with one better thought, or one, if you've got something on your wall that you really love. And when you look at that thing on your wall, you take a deep breath and you go, wow, that's really pretty. I really feel the peace in that, or I'm really connecting with the energy of that wave. Wow, okay. Healing is happening all of a sudden.
Yeah, I remember over at the fires, there was a woman that was there doing some healing work, and there was a whole group of us, and we're kind of watching her, and she's really not doing anything, right? And we're like, what's really going on here, right? And then I had a person that I wasn't able to bring back. They had totally dissociated, and I'd spent a couple hours with them, and I finally went over to this young woman and I said, I don't know what you do. It doesn't look like you do anything, but can you help me out here? And what she did was basically resetting the vagal nerve by looking at something far away, looking for red, looking for yellow, bringing it back inside, back out. Where's red? Oh, there's some red. Bringing it back. And it only took her about an hour, and she pulled that person around, and I went over, and the person said, I think I have to go pee. Now, she hadn't peed for days because of this state of PTSD and shock and all of that, right? So I love that you can look at something different, and then the body will automatically respond through the vagal nerve, right?
Exactly.
Which is a positive thought, an action, even a piece of art, like, doodling.
Yes.
And I've watched you when you were younger. I'm dating myself here.
I was young once.
Yeah, you were just a little punk. And
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And you were doing your art, and it was amazing. And then you became a mother, and things changed.
Everything changes.
And your art really changed.
Yes.
And then as you became, you did all these years of being a mom, where you pretty much, that's what you did. You were your mom. You were a mom, right? And you took care of all of your daughter's needs. And then that phase was over, and now you've rested into you now.
I so often think of our lives as chapters in a book. And really, when I look back on life, exactly as you're saying, I was young, and art is kind of a neat way to look at the chapters. My book is illustrated. But yes, it's true. It's wonderful to step into this new phase of life where I really get to, 16 years full time, Lomi Lomi, being a mother full time, of course. And now all of a sudden, wow, I get to really focus on how I am and how I feel and how I move through the world and how my art can really step into the world as a healing modality.
And I've been really honored to watch you go through this process of weaving your incredible healing work with touch into your art, and then having the bravery to put it out there when, that market is, quote, by some, it's a tough world.
Yeah.
But what I've seen you do is unfold these parts of yourself that are just like that wave that goes up, comes down, and then it comes up, and it comes down. But there's all these different dimensions in that wave, right? Because you are water. Everybody is water. We're 75% water in our bodies. And that's why it's so good to be in the ocean or near the ocean. I was thinking about when we were talking about positive. You know, you go to the beach, and one of the reasons you feel so good is because of the negative ions.
Right.
Negative ions from the ocean. And I'm like, you know, that's science. That's science. Maybe they're positive ions that are coming off of the ocean there, because it really does take care of what, I mean, we can be at the beach and then.
Yes, that breath. Yes. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. I'm not sure who decided to call them negative ions. But
Well, you know, I love science. I am a scientist, but boy, we sure have made some interesting rules in that whole genera, right? But when we think about the nature of your nature, the reason that I started the nonprofit You Know More was because I had 5 peers take their lives in the beginning of COVID. And I went, gosh, I got to do something to help my peers, right? And You Know More really means that you know more. I've had people go, well, can you explain that? I'm like, just like Nike says, just do it. You know more, right? And then through the fires, these horrendous fires broke something open in most of us that is our true nature, the nature of your nature, our nature, right? And I just want to give a special thanks out to You Know More, Akaku, for letting us come in here, KAKU 88.5 FM, so that we can bring this to the world, a different way of looking at our relationship to the planet. We are made of the same DNA as plants, and we call that pre-human DNA from Harriet Witt. And so as we return to the plants, return to the water and be the water. And that's what I see you do with your art, Naia, is you are the water and you're able to put that in the paint.
Thank you. Thank you for seeing that. Thank you for seeing me. And I think with seeing you, witnessing you throughout the years, being a doctor and helping so many people through so much, it's incredible.
It's nuts.
But yeah, I think it was revealed to you that this notion that we know what we need. We know. And you see that when they get it, when they get into their inner knowing, that's where the healing is.
I remember one day driving into the west side. I was staying over there because I couldn't drive, it's too far to where I live. But I saw in all of that devastation of black and gray and ashes, I saw a little tiny piece of green.
Aww.
And then every day that piece of green got bigger and bigger. And then they put up those barriers so we couldn't see. And then one day there was a banana tree coming over the top of the barrier with fruit. That plant knew it was going to be okay. And that's what I've witnessed in almost everybody that I've worked with from these fires, is that they found something inside of him. And they're coming forth and they're serving the world in a different way, which is really the nature of their nature, to get back to nature, which we all did out here in Maui and in other places in the world too. Crises does create change. We don't have to have crises to have change, but it has.
And it's still in process for a lot of us too. Yeah. But it's the same thing when even with something big like the fires. Maybe you've lost your house, maybe you've lost a loved one, maybe everything. That there is still a thought that feels better that you can reach for. And even if it's just a teeny tiny little thought about a teeny tiny little thing, you're driving and it's hard and you've been doing this, you've been doing it. I know because I saw the incredible service that you did at that time right after the fires, and it was hard environment, so much. And the green, the thing that's growing out of it really probably, I would guess, helped you to take a deep breath and helped you to open up a bit inside and kind of allow for the healing to happen there. Because when we're completely contracted and we're in it and in our thoughts and in our emotions, and they just have us and they've gripped us, it's very hard to be healthy in that environment for our bodies. So thanks, little banana plant, for helping Valerie out there.
Yes, thank you, banana plant. Yeah, it goes back to communication, right? Communication with the earth and all the deities on the earth, the little bugs, the water, all of the elements, right?
Yes.
And I'd like to bring that back to our bodies if we can, okay? And you've worked with a lot of bodies in your career, right?
Yes,
and I've seen some of those people, especially like frontline workers, EMS and stuff like that were under so much trauma. And what did you find when you were working with them? How did they come home to their being? More, I call it.
Yeah. Well, every situation is different. Everybody's different. So I don't know if I can give you one answer for that. But what I can say is that connection really matters. It's the connection that we have with each other, the connection we have with ourselves, the connection we have with our environment. Absolutely. Once, if we're in trauma or our body hurts or we're in need of help one way or another, having that connection, just, the physical touch with the Lomi Lomi and the feeling that you get through healing with your heart, and helping that person find their connection with themselves or find their connection with their environment. Interspecies connection, one of my favorite topics. If I see a dolphin, I'm just going to be happy. I'm just going to feel better. Yeah. And if I have friends on my boat, you better believe there's some squealing going on. So the dolphin's squeaking and we're squealing. And that's just, it's this interspecies connection that can also just be so healing. We can watch how animals connect with each other, say, how two whales interact. Beautiful, beautiful thing to watch. How an animal might interact with us is incredible. How we interact with each other. All of these levels of connection is really, really healing and really helpful. And I hope this can serve as a helpful reminder to anyone that's listening. Look around. Where are you right now? Is there anything that you see right now that really kind of makes you feel good? Like you said, is there a color? Can you look around? Is there a color that you're really liking? Do you see a little banana tree somewhere? What are you looking at, people?
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that? And if you're looking at, I'm personally having a problem with driving around and looking at the trash on Maui, because I've lived on Maui a long time, and I absolutely love this island, and I cherish and respect. And if I could pick up every single piece of garbage every day, I absolutely would. And it's just impossible because it's just everywhere. So, when I'm driving around, I don't want to put blinders to what's happening. I see it. But I also need to look around and find something that makes me feel good in that moment. Because if I dwell on that I'm going to start feeling that. Or maybe it creeps in. You might not feel it in your body right away, but it's there. That little sadness, anger, kind of like hope. What do I do? How do I help? Okay, I'm feeling all those things. Those are all real. Those are all there. I get it. And wow, look at Haleakala. Wow. Look at the light on the island. Like, just thinking about that, I get goosebumps. It just... Okay. All right. Let's carry on. Now, from this place, I might be, better able to do something to help about it. I might actually pull over and pick it up, but if I'm just angry about it and, all tied up in knots inside, that's not helping anybody.
I remember decades ago, I was over on the west side, and there was a person there, and they were smoking cigars right there on the beach, and they were throwing it in the water, and I've watched about 5 of those cigars go in the water,
my
and I'm
goodness.
just starting to boil, and finally I went, okay, I've got to go talk to him. Well, by then I was boiling, so I wasn't talking, I was yelling, right? And the guy stood up, and he was probably 6'8" or more, huge man, and he's encouraging me. Somebody's got more power than I do, right? And then this local guy comes over. He says, "Tita, get out of the way." And he starts talking to this guy, and he said, "Get in there. You get those cigars out of the water. That's my home. You don't put the garbage in my home." And then the guy does, and then he leaves the beach, right? And he's blah, blah, blah. And that local boy comes over. He says, "Did it? You suicidal or something?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "That guy would have killed you."
Oh my goodness.
Right? And that moment, I really realized how much I wasn't in my body. And all I was doing was thinking about the problem and what I maybe could do about it. But I put myself in great danger by thinking that I could change this humongous guy from polluting the ocean, right? And I've really learned this through the years of being a physician, is that if we're polluting this place where we live, this body, well, it's probably going to happen everywhere, right? So where can I personally make a difference is maybe I can help people understand to cherish their body, which I bring that back around to you, knowing you for so many years. That is one thing that you've had very unique gift of understanding your body.
Thank you. Yeah. And there are ways to handle situations like that that might be counterintuitive. Like even though you were feeling angry and you were upset about that, just carrying this example a bit further, maybe just trying to understand, going up, introducing yourself, where you're from, making a connection. And then trying to understand where that is coming from.
Yeah.
Is there a thought? Like maybe, they have like certain spiritual practices. You throw something in the ocean,
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows where
Right.
he's coming from? But getting at the heart of the matter is always a good way to go.
It is. And I'm going to bring it back to these bodies. Getting back to the heart of the matter. This is called matter in medicine. Our tissue is matter. And how do we connect that with the earth, and how do we walk on the earth in this body, this place that we live, with ease and grace, and be aligned with what it is that we're really here to bring, which I'm going to bring that back to the wave. And I remember seeing one of your paintings, and I could see the mist off the wave that you had painted, the esoteric aspect of the wave. Can you talk a little bit about that, and how is that with our bodies? What can you draw a picture between that?
I'm trying to tune in on which one you're thinking
yeah,
of.
right.
So, you're asking me about the mist coming off of the waves, and does that have a greater meaning?
Yes.
Like what's coming, what affects what? Well, it probably does. And one thing that I do with my art, and the hardest thing, is to get out of the way. Because I know what the wave looks like. I know that when the wind blows, the mist kind of gets blown backward, and it can create a really cool effect. But when I'm with the canvas, I'm not looking at an image and trying to make the wind on the picture. I am feeling what it feels like when I'm looking at the waves. So I'm really, I've gotten very good at just getting out of the way and just feeling. And if I get stuck and I'm thinking, this doesn't look good. What's out of place here? What is going on? I get frustrated. Then I just close my eyes and just think about how it feels to look at the water, how it feels to be in the water, what that is for me. Where is that? What is that? How is that? You know, just really just going back to the feeling and not just what it looks like with my eyes. So when you're asking me if the putting in the mist there had some sort of meaning, it probably did, because I was completely out of the way when I did that. And it just kind of happens. I often start a piece out being an abstract. And there's just, maybe it's going to be a wave. Maybe I did one the other day and it just turned out to be this bird soaring. Wow. And it was just, and I did this ocean abstract the other day and somebody said, oh, look, it's a whale. I was like, well, I'm not surprised about that, but okay. You know, that's what's so fun about it, because just putting the paint down, getting out of the way and seeing what wants to happen.
And I think if we bring that back to humans, you know, and our relationship with one another, is to get out of the way, right?
Let the connection happen.
Yeah, let the connection happen, which sometimes means take that pause, right? Just drop into a breath. There you go. That was a nice breath. Thanks,
I love us.
Yeah, yeah. And that's in Lomi Lomi and any kind of healing arts, when we take that breath, that is the vagal nerve resetting. Yes,
it's a wonderful thing.
It is.
It's very, very powerful, and it's very real. I mean, the things that we're talking about here today are feelings and healings and feelings. It can sound kind of woo-woo or esoteric or whatever, but honestly, this stuff is real. It is real, and I encourage, if you're listening to this, give it a try, even in just a simple way. You get that great breath and all of a sudden, wow, that felt good. Wow, I'm feeling better. You better believe that's a healing thing happening for you. And I want that for you. I want that for all of us.
Yeah. And it's important just to allow that to happen, right? And I know for myself, I love fabric and I love hand sewing and creating whatever it's going to be. And I love painting and all those things too. I don't have an agenda. I just let it kind of create itself, right? But that I did something the other day with a piece of fabric, and I'm like, oh my God, I would never have thought of that, because I just allowed it to happen, right? And when we can do that with our bodies, because we have expectations that we need to look a certain way, we need to walk a certain way, blah, la, 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 from society, right? Harriet called it the paving over of our innate wisdom, right? Through society and things like that. When we return home to You No More, and You No More actually came from an experience in Bali where there was a woman that was paralyzed for 10 years. She was only 35. Couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't swallow. And her body was all shriveled up from 10 years.
Wow.
And within a few weeks, that woman was talking. The first time in 10 years.
Wow.
She talked. She was able to walk in a couple more weeks. And she had a great sense of humor. I didn't understand Balinese, but she was sure funny. And when someone asked me, how did you do that? What did you do when you were helping her? And I'm like, what did I do? Well, I believed in her, but I saw that spark in her eyes. And we all have that spark. We all have that spark in our eyes. So I love going to the mirror, look in the mirror. I mean, I can get so busy, I forget what I even look like, right? So go to the mirror, look at yourself in the mirror, right? And find that spark.
I'm looking at yours right now, and it's pretty big, Dr. Valerie.
Yours too, Naia. Yeah. And as we recognize that within everybody, we all can feel safe.
Yes. Right.
It's in there.
It's part of that connection. When I look at your spark, I find my spark and the beauty of being connected together. And no matter what is happening in our outside world, if we feel like we're out of control of what's happening, we can do that.
We can do that, and then we can get back to nature. You know, our bodies had the ability to photosynthesis. Right now we, quote, only have vitamin D, right? You go outside to get vitamin D to make your body do X, Y, Z. But at one time, our body had the same properties as plants do with photosynthesis, which photosynthesis is light, synthesizing light. So when I look into someone's eyes, if they allow something like that, and see the light, and it's like, oh, they're going to be fine. They got this. You know, we maybe need to make a few corrections with perhaps what they're eating. I was just watching one of my peers went on a little journey and was eating standard American food, SAD, standard American diet, right? And then she was having some IV therapy done. And it was just this creamy stuff coming out while she was going through this cleansing thing. Sugar has been processed sugar has been one of the greatest downfalls in our world. And that dampens that light so quickly. But we can return to the vegetables. Like I saw you talking about vegetables earlier, and your face was like, vegetables, right? Yeah. And we have a lot of really great resources on the island with fresh vegetables.
Yes.
I went to a taro festival the other day. And it's right out of the ground. You could taste the dirt, right?
Yeah, and sweet potatoes are pretty darn sweet.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. Very nutritious. Yeah. So as we connect with our bodies, understanding that our DNA is the same as pre-human DNA, which our first pre-human being on this planet was blue-green algae. And our oceans are full of blue-green algae.
Going back to the water.
Right, bringing it back to the water.
Big round circle.
Yeah. And a lot of my people that I'm working with that condition called the Big C, I call it the Big C, and getting them on the greens, getting them on blue-green algae, blue spirulina nourishing the body. And there's a withdrawal that goes through when the body starts getting really good food. And then eventually it'll go, okay, I want more of that. I want more of that, right?
Right. And you're not just putting in the better food, but, getting off the other food, is a reaction too.
Yes. And when we do that, what we're able to do is really come home to why we're really here, which brings me back to the Pure Aloha Art. Your website is purealohaart.com.
That's right.
And that's what you do, isn't it?
Yes.
You're feeding us some really good food.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for recognizing that. And if anybody's listening, you want to take a look, I'd love to hear any comments, or please direct message me or contact me if you want to have more conversation about this. I could talk about it all day long.
Yes, you probably could, and we would appreciate that. So as we return to the water, life is a wave. Life is a wave.
Yeah.
And we're going to have ups, and we're going to have downs. We're going to have ups, and we're going to have downs. And I love, when I was in medical school, I can't remember, Dr. Logdog came and taught us about depression. And she said there's mountains and there's valleys. And where does the food grow? On the top of the mountain or in the valley?
Where the water is.
In the valley. Right,
and that's where the tears are, in the valleys, and it's a very healing place to be. And if you're in the valley, you don't want to just say, "I'm not in the valley," because you're in the valley.
Well, and there's a judgment with the valley. right?
Right. It just being like, oh, well, this is where I get to have my tears flow. This is where I get to grow.
And we plant the seeds. Like right now, with a full moon, we're really harvesting the seeds that we planted on the new moon about 14 days ago. And in this world where there's so much transformation and it's so quickly happening, like, right? Think about over these next 14 days, what is it that you want in your life? What do you really want in your life? And then pick up a watercolor set or something and just start putting it on the paper. I find writing is very useful, but painting or what do they call that when you make something out of clay?
Pottery, ceramics.
That's another great way to really get in touch with what is going on in your body. But I love painting because it's just like water. It flows, yeah?
Yes, I was always an oil painter, but then I started doing silk painting, and wow, working with the water and what the water does, that just opened up a lot of magic for me and just carried through. So,
yeah. And I remember in medical school when that's how I would meditate. It was watercolor, but I hid all my paintings under my bed, and then there was a earthquake or something, and somebody had to move stuff out, and they said, "My gosh, Valerie, that's really great. Why don't you sell that?" And I'm like, no, I'm not going to. And then I decided that when I finished medical school, I was going to start studying art. So as soon as I got out, I started a watercolor class, painting class in Montana. And everybody in the class, except for me, I was doing exactly what the teacher told me to do. Everybody else was doing their own thing. And it was really making me mad. Why weren't they paying attention to the teacher, right? Now, I've been in school for 12 years. I did everything that the professor said,
you were
right?
good with your brain.
Yeah. So I could pass class. And one day I went, wait a minute, these guys are all having fun. So that night I just started painting. And the professor came over and she says, Valerie, I can't teach you to paint. I can teach you techniques. But everybody is an artist. Paint your life. And right now, with this full moon, we have a clean slate. What is it that you want to create, right?
Starts with a thought, starts with a feeling.
Yeah.
A spark.
A spark. Yeah. And then as we just allow it to be, give it that pause, give it that space, it will evolve, and this body will go along with that. I've seen what we call miracles, especially over the last 6 months, of people with stage 4, no chance of recovery, and they're out catching 100 waves, or they just went da-da-da-da, because they've dropped back into what it is that they love.
The nature of their nature.
The nature of their nature. Yeah. So I just want to bring it back around to your service to the planet through Pure Aloha Art, and I want to thank you for all that you've done. Is there anything that you feel that we might want to add to this conversation of riding the waves?
Well, there is one thing that we haven't touched on that I think is part of all this, and it's this: what you feed grows.
Oh.
And then the other thing is inquire within. Those are two things that I really like to say to myself, because, maybe somebody out there is listening and they're saying, well, I don't know what I want to create. I don't even know. So there's something about inquiring within, and that might require you putting the phone down for a minute. Let's just tune in for a sec and just take a minute. Take a minute and ask ourselves, what's going on? What's happening in there? What do you need? What do you love? What do you want? What do you want to get rid of? Inquire within, and then start feeding it. And it can be little by little, but what you feed grows. It really does.
Yeah.
And that goes for negative thinking. It goes both ways.
It does. And I want to go back to the phone really for a moment because that's so valuable. I did an experiment last week. I left my phone by my bed. And, all the research shows don't do that, right? But I just wanted to see what would happen. Every day I woke up at 1:24 in the morning.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So then I moved it to the other part of the house, which, a tiny house, that's not very far. But it was amazing to see. Now that phone, yes, it was on because my phone is on all the time for my business, but just the energy and what's coming through when it's not even really on, right?
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot, and it comes into our beings. And dreams that are coming that aren't even ours because of something that you've watched on a reel or whatever we call that kind of thing, right?
Right. And I love my phone. There is so many great tools that you can use it for. You can use it for so much good, so much creativity, so much connection. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And it's like anything. It's like we need a little bit of a balance. And sometimes if we're trying to tune in with our own self, like when I'm painting, the phone's not there because I find that that's better for me. And sometimes people are like, well, I texted you 6 hours ago. I haven't heard back. Well, but I think, turning it off at night for me feels really good. That feels really honoring of the phone. Give it a break. Honoring of myself. Give myself a break. But I think if I'm having fear and feelings around this phone, again, that thought that phone is harmful for my health, that phone is not good for me, going down that path, that's your body's listening.
Totally.
So, it's like, oh, I love my phone, and okay, I've had enough of that right now. I'm going to turn it off for a little bit. How does that feel? Okay, well that let me inquire within. Okay, that's working for me right now. That's feeling good. So, just a little.
And going back to the wave, life changes just like the waves change. And maybe you think you're reading the waves, but I remember when I was first told, they always come in threes. That's not true. That's not true. Waves come when waves come. And the same thing in our bodies. Mm-hmm. But I think in our bodies we have a little more ability to say, okay, here comes a wave. Yeah. Right? Like the other day something was happening and I wasn't able to verbalize it, what was happening in my body, but all I could say was, my belly is cramped right now. Mm-hmm. Now that must mean something. But it took me probably a couple of days to process whatever that was that was going on in my body in reaction to whatever that situation was on the outside. Mm-hmm. Right. So there again, given space. Yeah. Right.
And you probably inquired within.
And we all have our ways of doing it. A lot of people write other kinds of art or things like that. But do something that kind of gets us out of the story and allows the story to show us what it is. As it's just like you were painting that picture the other day, and there was a bird. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so symbolic in your life. You're taking off. You're flying to new heights, yeah?
Let's hope so. That's what I'm feeding. That's what I'm feeding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And we all can. We all are in our ways. We just got to keep watering those seeds with those thoughts, feelings, actions, environments.
And discern with the seeds. As there's a lot of genetically engineered seeds out there.
That's true.
Right? And
pick your seeds wisely.
Yeah, and And the ancient seeds, there's something to that, right? And the ancient seeds are awareness, alignment, breath, connection, modification, communication, discernment, dance.
Love all that.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. We become gardeners in our own lives, right?
Yeah.
And then we're able to feed one another through that way, which is what you're doing with your process that you're going through right now with purealohaart.com, and taking your healing that you've had from your auntie with the Lomi Lomi and bringing it through with paint. And then people take it home. And one of the first books that I did all of them, illustrated everything with flower essences in the water. And the person that was editing, she says, "My gosh, what did you do there?" And I'm like, "Oh, what did I do?"
Put your healing in it.
Put the healing in it.
Yes.
So want to thank you for being here, Naia.
You're so very welcome.
Yeah, and we've been riding the waves and the nature of your nature. Come home to you no more. So thank you for being here and sharing your amazing beingness. And thank you all for joining us. And we're going to say, ahui ho.
Aloha.
You know more. Yes, you do.
Maui Public Art Corps, in collaboration with the Maui Historical Society, the County of Maui, and